With the recent release of the CS2 Armory Pass and the sad news that we may never see another true Counter-Strike operation again, it had me reminiscing about the golden age of Counter-Strike and how amazing the peak operations really were. I wanted to make this video as an all-inclusive memorial of the history of Counter-Strike operations. Not only to document the beauty of what we all experienced and to show newcomers what Counter-Strike was really like in its prime, but to also allow the OGs to experience the nostalgia one more time. So, let's take a trip down memory lane. It all started on April 25th, 2013 when Valve released Operation Payback. This was the first ever iteration of an operation in Counter-Strike and is a mere silhouette of the later operations we know and love. Not only were there no skins, as those hadn't been introduced into the game yet, but there were also no missions whatsoever. The entire point of Operation Payback was to introduce 7 new maps into the game and subsequently support the creators of those maps with some revenue share. The method of doing this was by releasing the Operation Pass, which originally went on sale for a price of $5.99. From buying the pass, you would just receive the Operation Payback coin, which you could then upgrade by playing on the new maps. Like I said, this was the first operation and it did not have any missions. Upgrading your coin was done via playtime. The silver coin was achieved with 10 hours of playtime, and the gold coin with 50. Thus, this was the first instance of people AFKing for rewards in Counter-Strike, which too has existed and evolved even through the 2024 Armory Pass over a decade later. The 7 maps released with Operation Payback were 4 hostage rescue maps in Downtown, Motel, Museum, and Thunder, as well as 3 bomb defusal maps in Favela, Library, and Seaside, which were all only available to play in casual mode. Though not officially considered an operation map, about a month and a half later on June 12th, Valve released a subsequent update bringing Mirage into the game, and they also cut the price of the pass to just 99 cents, which is kind of funny to look back on considering the current Steam price for this pass is over $370. The operation was a smash hit. Even though there were only around 50,000 active players at this time, Valve announced that the community had successfully raised over $150,000 for the map makers. Based on the information I could find online, when all was said and done, Valve paid out somewhere between $23,000 and $40,000 per map to the creators. Because of its immediate success, Valve decided to extend the operation by an entire month. And just before it officially ended on August 31st of that same year, Valve released possibly the most important update in Counter-Strike history, the Arms Deal update, which was our first ever glimpse into the world of skins with the well-known CSGO weapon case. All of these updates were received extremely well and skins were a huge success. Valve was dedicated and the Counter-Strike fanbase was quickly growing. And just 3 weeks after the end of the last operation, on September 19th of 2013, Valve released Operation Bravo. But with the recent release of skins and a successful test run in Payback, this operation was about much more than just new maps. Firstly, with the purchase of the Bravo Pass, you of course received your coin, but this time around, the upgrade process was a bit different. Valve learned very quickly from the AFKing problem in Payback, so rather than just having a playtime requirement for the silver and gold coin, Valve made the addition of 5 competitive wins for silver and 15 competitive wins for gold. Bravo also introduced the scorecard, which tracked your statistics across the operation. Also, people didn't love the fact that the Payback maps could only be played in casual mode, so Valve decided to make the 8 Bravo maps playable in casual, deathmatch, and competitive. The 8 maps released were Agency and Siege as the new hostage rescue maps, and Ali, Cache, Chinatown, Gwalior, Ruins, and Seaside as the new bomb defusal maps. But these additions were just the tip of the iceberg. More importantly, and I say that objectively, Operation Bravo brought the first ever Operation case and collection. The Operation Bravo case, home to the fan favorite AK-47 Fire Serpent, was made available to all players, even those without a pass, and the Alpha Collection, whose skins were exclusively dropped to players with a pass. People were loving all of the new content, and by the month of October, the active player base had nearly doubled to just under 100,000 players. A few months later, on December 18th, Valve released a subsequent update, the Winter Offensive update, which introduced the fan favorite maps Overpass and Cobblestone into the operation. At this point, the player base soared above 100,000 for the first time, and Valve even extended the operation again, similarly to how they did with Payback. And on February 5th of 2014, Operation Bravo came to an end. But in the grand scheme of things, this was just the beginning. Skin Club is the most popular CS2 case opening site, and for good reason. They're one of the only unboxing sites that have provably fair odds, and their game modes are way more fun than opening regular cases. This specific case gives you an 8.2% chance to unbox a knife or glove, moves. That's 1 in every 12 cases. Compare that to CS2, where it literally takes 400 cases on average. On top of their cases, they also have missions, battles, and my personal favorite, upgrades. And the best part is, they even offer free daily cases. If any of that sounds fun to you, make sure to use my link in the description for a 7% deposit bonus on the site. But please remember, loot box sites can be highly addictive, so make sure you only use the site if you're over the age of 18 and only spend money you can afford to lose. Seriously, let's get back to the video. The abundance of content quickly continued, and on February 20th, just a few weeks later, Valve released Operation Phoenix, and with it, the Operation Phoenix case, home to the Op Azimuth. This time around, there were two major changes from Operation Bravo. The first was the map selection process. Prior to the official release of the operation, Valve made it possible for players to vote for which maps they wanted to be brought back to the game. And thus, the 8 maps selected were Motel, Thunder, Agency, and Downtown as the hostage rescue maps, and Cache, Seaside, Ali, and Favela for bomb defusal. Except for the new addition in Cache, the other 7 maps were returning favorites. The second major change from Bravo to Phoenix was that unlike the Operation Bravo case, the Operation Phoenix case was at first exclusively dropped to pass owners. But on June 11th of 2014, when the operation came to a close, the Phoenix case was made available to all players as a drop. At this point, Valve completely understood what they were doing and knew exactly what the players wanted. By the end of June, the active player base skyrocketed yet again and not only broke the 200,000 player threshold, but came extremely close to hitting the 300,000 one as well. And again, just a few weeks later, on July 1st of 2014, they released Operation Breakout. This time around, there were a lot of noteworthy changes from Phoenix. Firstly, Valve released an upgraded version of the scorecard, which they called the Operation Journal. Also, with this operation came the addition of 6 brand new maps in Rush and Insertion as the hostage maps, and Black Gold, Castle, Mist, and Overgrown as the bomb defusal maps. But this operation marked the first time that these maps were available to all players, even without the pass. This time, the content exclusive to the pass came in the form of missions, which I briefly mentioned earlier. The addition of missions also brought a new change to the coin upgrading process. Now, the silver coin was obtained by completing 5 missions, and the gold coin by completing 15. On top of upgrading your coin though, completing missions also rewarded you with a random skin from one of the 3 new skin collections. The Baggage Collection, home to the AK-47 Jet Set, the Overpass Collection, home to the M4A1S Masterpiece, and the Cobblestone Collection, home to the most famous skin of all time, the Op Dragonlore. And that led to moments like this.
What the fuck? What the fuck? Holy shit! Holy fucking shit! There's no way! There's no way! Is this real life right now? Wow!
Of course, we can't forget the addition of the Operation Breakout case. With this came the release of one of the best knives of all time, the Butterfly Knife. This operation lasted for a while. During it though, on August 8th, Valve added the Cache Collection to the actively dropping mission rewards pool, and this lasted until the operation ended on October 2nd of 2014. And this was surprisingly the first operation that didn't receive an extension. Just over a month later, on November 11th of 2014, Operation Vanguard was released. This operation marked the first time that Valve added what they called a campaign. This was a more organized way to track the missions and to allow for a different assortment of rewards. They released 4 different campaigns called Vanguard, Weapons Specialist, Maghreb, and Eurasia Theater, costing $2.99 each, so it also added to the earnings for them. The rewards from these missions included random skins from existing collections, as well as the new Operation Vanguard case, home of the AK-47 Wasteland Rebel. Now, rather than competitive wins in game time upgrading your coin, completing an entire campaign rewarded you with what was called a challenge star, which you could then use to upgrade it. On top of these new additions, Operation Vanguard added 6 new maps. Back Alley and Workout were the 2 new hostage maps, and Bazaar, Facade, Marquee, and Season were the bomb defusal maps. Though the operation added these 6 maps, the Vanguard case provided the only new skins from this operation. 1 month into Vanguard, however, Valve reintroduced Train to the game and added it to the Vanguard map pool. Valve then returned to their old ways by by extending the operation through March 31st of 2015, and by the end of it, the player base had reached new heights of over 500,000 active players. Valve was not done yet, and if anything, they were more motivated than ever to create the best operation yet. And nearly 2 months later, on May 26th of 2015, with the release of Operation Bloodhound, they did just that. Operation Bloodhound was the biggest operation to date. I remember coming back to CSGO after an extended break because of how excited I was for it. For this operation, Valve took everyone's favorite bits and pieces from their previous 5 operations and built on them to make them even more engaging. Firstly, building on the campaigns they introduced in Vanguard, they brought back the same exact system, but this time around added an entire storyline to each campaign, adding to the immersion for us players, and they even added co-op missions. For Bloodhound, 2 campaigns were released, Marksman and Revolution, and this was the first time we were introduced to fictional characters within the game. One change that I wouldn't consider better than before was the mission reward system. Now, instead of earning cases or skins upon completion of each mission, you were instead rewarded stars, which were again used to upgrade your coin. The silver coin required 9 stars and the gold 14. This in turn meant rewards were now only given upon leveling up your profile. To make up for this though, Valve released a plethora of new skins. Not only did they decide to keep some of the fan favorite collections in the map pool like Cash, Overpass, and Cobblestone, but they also added 3 of my personal favorite collections of all time in the Chop Shop collection, home of the M4A1S Hot Rod, the Rising Sun collection, home of the first anime mommy in the game, and the legendary Gods and Monsters collection, home of the Op Medusa. Of course, we can't forget the addition of the Falchion case, home of the brand new Falchion Knight. Valve also released 7 new maps within Operation Bloodhound. Log, Rails, Resort, Season, and Zoo were the bomb defusal maps, and Agency was the sole new hostage map. But there was one other map released called Crash Site as the first co-op map for the Guardian mode. By this time, the active player base reached over 800,000 for the first time ever, and on October 1st of 2015, Operation Bloodhound was no more. Coming off of their biggest project ever, I'm sure it was quite difficult for Valve to think of ideas to push the envelope even further. They had amassed a large cult following and were now one of the most played PC games. This led to the longest break we had ever seen between operations since they began in 2013, until February 17th of 2016 with the release of Operation Wildfire. Like I said before, Valve had worked very hard to perfect operations prior to the release of Bloodhound, so at this point there wasn't much for them to change. The biggest change across the board was building on the recently added co-op modes. Operation Wildfire showed the release of 2 new campaigns called Wildfire and Gemini. The missions worked just like before, but this time around the entire Gemini campaign was designated to co-op missions split between Guardian and Co-op Strike. This added a novelty that Counter-Strike had yet to see. One other notable addition was that of Blitz missions. With these missions, players earned bonus XP for performing specific actions during global windows of opportunity. There were 8 new maps added with the operation. There was 1 new hostage map called Cruise, and 6 new bomb defusal maps called Coast, Empire, Mikla, Royale, Santorini, and Tulip. A co-op map was also added called Phoenix Compound, and upon the release of the operation, a remodeled version of Nuke was added too. The coin upgrade system operated the same way, and the only other addition was that of the Operation Wildfire case, which introduced the Bowie knife and the fan favorite fuel injector. All of the other collections remained the same. The player base hovered around an average of 650,000 active people during this time, and on July 15th of 2016, the operation ended. Nearly an entire year later, on May 23rd of 2017, Valve released the long-awaited Operation Hydra. With Operation Hydra came a few major additions. The first being the addition of what were called Hydra missions. The Hydra missions were unique game modes available for a week at a time to earn additional XP. There were 3 Hydra missions: War Games, Wingman, and Weapons Expert. Firstly, the War Games mission was home to 6 different miniature game modes: Heavy Assault Suit, Headshots Only, Hunters Gatherers, Stab Stab Zap, the Flying Scoutsman, and Trigger Discipline. Wingman, of course, is the Wingman game mode we know and love today, and Weapons Expert was a mode in which you could only purchase every weapon once. If you're curious about any of the other modes, I'll leave a link to the War Games in the description. This time around, rather than having multiple campaigns, Operation Hydra only saw 1, but it also brought the addition of 7 maps, some old, some new. Agency and Insertion were the hostage maps. Austria, Black Gold, Light, Shipped, and Thrill were the bomb defusal maps, and Rialto and Dizzy were also added for Wingman and Flying Scoutsman, respectively. Another big addition was the first ever Diamond Operation coin, which required you to get all available 25 stars. Similarly to Operation Wildfire, Valve decided to bring back the same 6 collections to this operation, and the only true addition were those in the Operation Hydra case, which also happened to be the first operation case with gloves as the golds. And after a few months, the operation ended on November 13th of 2017. But the ending of the operation was bittersweet because Valve dropped an update that same day in which they added Wingman and Flying Scoutsman as permanent game modes to CSGO. Time continued to move forward, but no operation came. We went through the entirety of 2018 without seeing a new operation. At this point, it felt like operations were becoming very scarce. The player base was dwindling and even dropped below 450,000, which was its lowest since 2015. Then on November 18th of 2019, over 2 years after the release of Operation Hydra, came Operation Shattered Web. Over those 2 years, we grew up a little, and apparently so did inflation too, because for the first time ever, Valve abandoned the $5.99 Operation Pass price point and in classic Valve fashion raised it to $14.99. But I think it was worth the wait and the price increase because this operation brought the introduction of agents and even 4 new knives in the Nomad, Paracord, Skeleton, and Survival, which were the gold items in the brand new Shattered Web case. Not only that, but we also received brand new Operation collections for the first time since Operation Bloodhound 4 years prior. The new collections included the Canals collection, home of the Op Prince, the St. Mark collection, home of the AK-47 Wild Lotus, and the Norse collection, home of the legendary Op Gungnir. Shattered Web also brought a unique addition in the first ever Operation stickers. On top of all of these great cosmetic additions, we also received a completely reworked Battle Pass style reward system. Within the system were weekly missions in which completing them earned you stars to unlock the new cosmetics. This also brought the addition of further microtransactions, which let players directly purchase these stars, essentially spawning items into the game without any effort being required. The coin progression system also evolved with this operation, now requiring 33 completed missions for silver, 66 for gold, and 100 for diamond. The new maps released with Operation Shattered Web were the Bomb Defusal map Studio, the Flying Scoutsman map Lunacy, and the Danger Zone map Jungle, and it even saw the return of the co-op map Phoenix Facility. Around this time, the player base finally surpassed the 1 million mark, which is incredible, and with Valve's pockets as full as ever, Operation Shattered Web came to an end on March 31st of 2020. Valve seemed to be back in prime form, and soon after Shattered Web ended, we got the release of Operation Broken Fang on December 3rd, 2020. This operation came with the addition of 2 never-before-seen game modes in Retake and Premiere. As we all know now, Premiere clearly transcended CSGO as it is the most popular game mode in CS2. Another addition that Broken Fang brought that we still use today is the in-game stats page. The Battle Pass-like mission system remained quite similar from Shattered Web to Broken Fang, featuring new missions weekly to earn stars, but the major change was the newly added option to spend your stars on whatever items you wanted. Again though, Valve clutched up by adding a brand new set of agents in 3 completely new skin collections: the Havoc, Control, and Ancient collections, home of the fan favorites like the AK-47 X-Ray, M4A1S Blue Phosphor, and the M4A1S Welcome to the Jungle. The Operation Broken Fang case didn't disappoint either, as it introduced the legendary M4A1S print stream. Thinking about it now, there were a lot of great M4A1Ss added to this update. There were also 8 new maps added to the game: the 2 bomb defusal maps Ancient and Engage, the hostage map Apollo, the wingman maps Elysian and Guard, the Danger Zone map Frostbite, and 2 co-op strike maps called Autumn Harvest and Cultivating Trouble. Operation Broken Fang was quite loved and lasted for exactly 5 months, ending on May 3rd of 2021. Just a few months later, on September 21st of 2021, we received the final operation ever seen in CSGO, Operation Riptide. Coming off of the coattails of Operation Broken Fang, Valve mimicked that same style with this operation. The mission, star, and coin system remained the exact same. Riptide released the addition of a ton of new cosmetics though, including patches, stickers, a case, and 4 new collections. The 4 collections were the updated 2021 map collections for Train, Mirage, Dust 2, and Vertigo, consisting of fan favorites like the Glock Gamma Doppler, which can become the Emerald, the Op Desert Hydra, the AK-47 Gold Era Besk, and the M4A1S Imminent Danger. The Operation Riptide case included skins like the AK-47 Leap Museo and the Desert Eagle Ocean Drive. On top of cosmetics, Valve introduced new features such as the short competitive matches, free-for-all, and team deathmatch, and even added private matches for the first time. Surprisingly, this operation also introduced the ability to drop grenades for the very first time. This operation also saw the addition of 5 new maps, including the bomb defusal map Basalt, the second version of the hostage map Insertion, 2 wingman maps in Ravine and Extraction, and the danger zone map County. Riptide was quite possibly the best operation ever seen and was a culmination of 8 years of trial and error from Valve. The active player base continued to linger around the 1 million mark, and the operation saw its last day on February 21st of 2022. Since then, we have completely moved over to the Source 2 engine with the release of CS2. Since its release in the summer of 2023, players have been waiting patiently for an operation with lots of rumors arising. That is, until we got the release of the CS2 Armory on October 2nd of 2024. At first, people were quite happy that we got the Armory, as it satiated the craving for some type of new content that we felt deprived of. But players quickly realized that this might spell the end for operations as we knew them. Word spread, emails were sent, and it seems as though the Armory is here to stay. Sadly, the Armory Pass is not home to interactive missions or an immersive campaign storyline, but feels more like a money grab by the cosmetic creating overlords that are Valve. Don't get me wrong, I am extremely happy that new skins were released into the game, but as of right now, if I were Valve, I would be prioritizing the longevity of the game by fixing the game-breaking bugs, cheating problems, and reintroducing many of the maps and game modes we all want. And once all of that is done and our game feels as crisp and playable as it once was, then I pray to Gaben that we receive the old operation structure or a new generation rework that feels like it was made with love. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.
If you enjoyed this video, YouTube thinks you'll like this one too. Oh yeah, and YouTube told me 75% of you aren't subscribed yet, so go thumb wrestle that subscribe button down below.